this project, we'll use two images from the NASA website, nasa.gov. One of the great things about government websites is the images they offer there usually are in public domain. And so we're going to take this iconic image of the Earthrise over the lunar surface and the Apollo 17 launch and combine those together with some type and using a clipping mask, produce the title for a video that is 1920 by 1080 in size. That's HD TV normal size. And we'll also apply some layer styles. Let's go into Photoshop. In Photoshop, I have my two documents open that I'm going to use in this project. First one I call DO3 Earthrise, and the other one I've renamed DO3 Apollo 17 Launch. These are both JPEG images. I want the Earthrise to be my background, so I'm going to start there. I'm going to go to the Image menu and choose Image Size. Now we're looking for a title screen that is 1920 by 1080 resolution. That's the resolution of a standard HD TV monitor. This is way too big, but I'm not going to use all of it, so I'm going to scale this down. I'm thinking 2500 by 2500. Now I want to take my rectangular marquee tool, and for style I'm going to choose fixed size, and I'm going to type in for the width 1920 px for pixels, and the height then will be 1080 px. And I'm going to come over to my image and just click, and I'll get the marching ants, or the marquee, of that size, 1920 by 1080 pixels. And I can use the Shift keyboard arrows to nudge it to where I want it. I want the Earth to be up towards the top, but leave a little distance at the top, and a little more over to the right. I think that's about where I want it. So what I'm going to do is go to the Image menu and choose Crop. So there is my image now at 1920 by 1080. I'm going to go ahead and save this as a PSD file, and I'll name it DO3 Moonshot, and I'll put my last name in. Decide where I want it, and I'll click Save. Now I'm zoomed pretty far out. Let's zoom in. I'm going to bring my window up. Let's grab it, make it bigger. And now I'm going to say Fit Screen. I see in the title bar I'm zoomed in at 78.6%. I like to see the pasteboard around my document so I see where the edges are. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm at 66.7%. Still a nice big image to work with. And now I can see the pasteboard. I'm going to select my Type tool. On the options bar, I'm going to choose a font of impact. It's actually one of my favorite fonts because it is impactful. It's a slab sans serif font. I'm going to leave it at regular. I want this to be a large size, so I'm going to start at 250 points. We'll keep it left aligned. The color doesn't matter. I want this to show up a little bit, so I'm just going to choose kind of a light blue. And so the color won't matter because we won't even see the color when we're done with this. So I'm going to click, and I'm going to type the word in all uppercase, moon space shot. Now I want this to be much larger, kind of going from left to right across my image, leaving a little bit of margin on each side. So I'm just going to, again, I'm going to highlight through this, and I can use the scrubby slider for the size. I'm just going to drag to the right. Maybe something about like that. I'm going to change the tracking using my character palette. I'm going to set the tracking to about, let's try a -75, and that's too close. I want my letters touching. Let's go to -50. That's much better. That brings it in a little bit tighter, so I might need to now raise the size a little bit. So again, I'll use that scrubby slider. And Actually, I think about 400 is going to be about the right size. So I'll go 400 point. Gives me a little margin on the left and right. However, I'd like this to be a little bit taller. So again, in the character palette, we can change the vertical measure. It's at 100%. Let's try 150%. And I like that. We're going to put a rocket inside this. I want some height, but it's also that idea of reaching for the stars or reaching for the moon in this case. Now I notice my T and the O are touching there. So I'm going to place my cursor in between those two letters, and we're going to adjust the kerning by holding down the Alt key and pressing the right arrow key just to move that out a little bit. Probably just one click is going to be enough. I'm positioning this so that's pretty much equidistant from left to right. I want to overlap the Earth a little bit. And we're going to put some text below this, so I don't want it too low, but about kind of in the middle of the screen is, I think, just about the right place. Now I'm going to go to the window menu and bring my Apollo 17 launch image to the forefront. Go to image, image size, and we'll see this is also a very large document, 6838 by 6838. Let's bring this way down in size. I'm thinking probably just 2,000 pixels will be enough. And I'll zoom in a bit. I'm going to take the Rectangular Marquee tool. This time I'm going to choose normal as my style on the options bar. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle that encompasses the ground below the rocket, that black silhouette, and some of the sky above it. I'll copy, go to the edit menu and choose copy. Come back to my moonshot, go to the edit menu and choose paste. And we have our image as a new layer above our existing layers. And so I can see what this looks like against the other layers. I'm going to lower the opacity way down temporarily. So now I can see my text below that. I'm going to go to the edit menu and choose transform scale. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. I want to make sure the rocket's going to fit inside my letter of the N. And that's about where I want it. I can maybe even go a little bit bigger. Press the Enter key to accept that transformation. Let's bring our image back to 100% opacity. Here's where let Photoshop do its magic. We have our image. I'm going to name the layer Launch and our text of Moonshot. And if in the layers palette, I'm going to select the launch layer. I'm going to click the flyout menu and choose Create Clipping Mask. And that's going to put that image inside the text. So it's using the text on the layer below as the mask. Next, I want to draw some attention to the title by adding some layer styles. Make sure I'm on my type layer. I'm going to go to layer styles. Let's add a drop shadow. I'm going to set the angle at 120 degrees. I'm going to bring the distance up to about maybe 14. Bring the spread up as well. So I'm seeing the preview. Make sure you have the preview checkbox selected. So I'm seeing the preview of what this is going to look like. And I might bring the distance down just a little bit. I think probably both of them at 13 is pretty good. Very subtle. Oftentimes when you're doing adjustments and you're doing styles, you want to keep it subtle. And then I'm going to add an inner glow. And for the inner glow, I'm going to choose a light yellow. And I have the opacity set at 55%, the noise at 27%. That gives it a little bit of a speckled look. I want this to to kind of be reminiscent of the glow and the embers coming out of the rocket as it blasts off. Choke at 21 and my size at 8. Just a slight edge. I still want to make sure I'm seeing that image through the text, but just drawing a little bit of the eye to the edge of that type. Now I'm going to add a subtitle. I'm going to take the type tool. I'm going to continue using impact. I want to make sure I'm not on my type layer before I make any changes. So I'm going to click on the launch layer. I want my type to go above that layer. I'm going to change the size down to, let's say, 72 point. So I'm still using impact regular at 72 point. It's going to be left aligned. I'm just going to click. Now, notice when I click, I'm hitting that layer for the moonshot, and it's jumped to that layer. It auto-selects that layer when I click the type tool, because I'm typing within the bounding box area of that text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that layer off for now, go back to my launch layer, and it's going to click. Make sure my type is down to about 72. I'm going to set the color to white. Actually, I'm going to go a little bit smaller, like 60 point. I want to come back in my properties, change the vertical style to 100%, and I'm going to move the tracking down. Let's go to about, I'll use minus 15. This is going to be a much smaller type. We'll try it there. I might have to adjust it. And then I'm going to type my text of the behind scenes story of the Apollo missions. Now I can turn my moonshot type back on. I'm going to use a ruler guide just at the edge of the M and another one at the edge of the T. And I want my text to line up between those two ruler guides. I'm going to move this into place just below my moonshot type. I don't want to do it too high. I want to make sure I'm still seeing the drop shadow and a little space between them. I want it to look like this is associated with that text, so I don't want it way down below. And I'm going to select that type again, just by double-clicking on the thumbnail. I'm going to take the scrubby slider for the size. I'm going to move to the right to where I get the type fit between those two ruler guides. Now I notice I'm still, for some reason it didn't take my 100%. I'm going to go back and change that to 100%. Maybe I forgot to press enter. I'm going to go to the view menu and turn off my extras. Get rid of those ruler guides. They're still there, but I'm just not seeing them. And now let's add a layer style to this type. And here I'm going to use an outer glow. And I'm going to click on the color swatch. I'm going to come in and just get one of the darker blues in my Earth image. I'm going to bring the opacity up to about 75%. Let's bring the noise down to about between 35 and 40%. I'm going to bring the spread up. I'm going to do 46%, and let's change the size. Let's bring it up just a little bit, maybe about 9 or 10. Just helps to outline that text a little bit, and I'll click OK. And there's my title screen with the clipping mask of the rocket being seen through the type, and a subtitle both with nice layer styles applied to all the type. If you'd like to see more videos in the Photoshop Practicum playlist, click the title at the bottom. If you'd like to be alerted to new videos, please click my photo in the top right to subscribe to the channel.